Hello, good evening, everyone. Totally apology for the delay, some technical issue we had earlier on. Today is the 18th of December, 2020. Welcome to the Dhamma series by Buddhist Mahavihara. I'll be your host today. My name is Gina and first time hosting for you today. Yes, let me introduce to you the profile of our Bhante, our speaker tonight. He will be speaking on Dharma sermon tonight. Will be titled Bahiya Sutta, a discourse on the quickest way to attain enlightenment. Before I bring him on, let me just introduce you, Bhante. Tonight we have Venerable Nida Gamuwe Samitha. He was originally from Gampaha, Sri Lanka, and he is now living in Connecticut, US, and he is currently volunteering at a Buddhist community. Bhante received a first-class honors degree from the University of Thera, Sri Lanka, and he specializes in Pali. That was in the year 2015. And then he was appointed as an assistant lecturer at the Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies at the Faculties of Art at the same university. And then Bhante has graduated from the Harvard Divinity School, Cambridge, in the US with a Master of Theological Studies degree in the year 2018. So really impressive profile we have here. And so without further ado, I will invite Bhante to take on the screen now, and he will share with us tonight. Yes, yes, Bhante, please come on. Sadhu Bhante Samitha.
Hi, how are you? Thank you.
Sorry for the delay.
No problem.
How are you doing?
Very good.
Okay, so I've introduced you, Bhante. You can take over from now. I will go off now.
Sure.
Thank you. Sadhu.
Please, everyone, say sadhu 3 times. Samantha Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajas Sunantu Sagga Mokkadang Dhamma Savana Kalu Ayang Bhadanta Dhamma Savana Kalu Ayang Bhadanta Dhamma Savana Kalu Ayang Bhadanta Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Good evening, everyone. It's our pleasure to be with the community of Buddhist Mahavihara, Malaysia. So thank you, Mr. Leslie, for inviting us once again. And thank you, Gina, for hosting today. So as you already know, today Dhamma discussion is going to be on Bahiya Sutta. So Buddha delivered this stanza, this discourse to Bahiya. So this discourse I am going to talk on today is in Udana Pali. You might have heard about this. So Buddha's whole teaching has been classified under 3 baskets, namely Sutta Pitaka, the basket of discourses, and Vinaya Pitaka, the basket of discipline, and the basket of Abhidhamma, Buddhist metaphysical teaching. So this Bahiya Sutta in the Kuddaka Nikaya of the Sutta Pitaka, the first Pitaka. So Sutta Pitaka is again divided into 5 parts. Diga Nikaya, where you have long sayings of the Buddha, and Majjhima Nikaya, middle length sayings of the Buddha, and then Samyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and Kuddaka Nikaya is the 5th part. So Samyutta Nikaya, you have connected sayings. Anguttara Nikaya, it's called, numerical or gradual sayings. And Kuddaka Nikaya, minor sayings. Okay, even though that is called minor sayings, it has very deep Dhamma factors, like the one we are talking about tonight. So Kuddaka Nikaya again has 15 books. So one of those is Udana Pali, where you have 82 short discourses. Okay, so I'm going to talk about one of those 82 short sutras about Bahiya. So, what does Udana mean? Udana literally means joyful utterances or inspired utterances. So, we also sometimes, utter Udanas as lay people. We have joyful and happy, moments in our life. Then you are so happy with that happiness, you sometimes utter things like, oh, I passed my examination. Oh, I got a promotion. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful to have this job. So those are the udanas, joyful utterances that we utter in our day-to-day life. But this udana, what we are going to talk about tonight, so it is totally different from our joyful utterances, because our joyful utterances are, filled with, sometimes desire, lust, lot of, excitement, and sometimes expectations. Okay, so there are a lot of, thoughts involved there, sometimes unwholesome thoughts. So, but the udanas uttered by the Buddha and Arahants, so they are not, with that kind of, thoughts. They are totally free from unwholesome thoughts. So there is a definition for udana. Somanassa jnanamaika gata patisangyuttang udanam. Somanassa, of course, there is happiness there, kind of dharmic happiness. So Buddha utters these udana, arahants utter these udanas with happiness. That is dharmic happiness. And jnanamaika, and they are with wisdom. Okay, they are not saying this thing and that thing like we do in our day-to-day life. So they are really, with wisdom. Okay, Buddha and Arahants utter this udana with wisdom. So somanassa jnanamaika gata patisangyuttang udana. So those udanas, those joyful utterances are uttered with, verses, very short. Okay, when you write things, you can write it in prose style. Okay, like paragraphs. And when you write things, if you are really, capable of doing that, then you can write things in poems, right? Like just 4 lines, like a poem. We call them stanzas or verses. So these udanas are in verses. Okay, so every story is followed by a udana, this kind of verses. Okay, so we are going to talk about that, in our Dhamma discussion today. So now you have kind of idea about the udana. Okay, udana is in the Kuddaka Nikaya of the Sutta Pitaka. So the udana section has 82 discourses, short discourses. So I am going to talk about Bahiya Sutta in the Udana Pali. Okay, so uh, you have to be, very happy because listening to Dhamma is auspicious. Again, this is conducted by the Buddhist Mahavihara. So you have a great opportunity to listen to Dhamma sermons twice a week, as I know, on Fridays and Sundays, maybe even more than that, that I am not aware of. Okay, so you can be really happy that you are listening to Dhamma, and you can be attentive in the same time. Okay, you have to pay attention when you listen to them, otherwise you take away, wrong views. So please listen to this Dhamma sermon attentively, pay your attention very well. So this Udana Bahiya Sutta, Buddha delivered to Bahiya. So who is Bahiya? Bahiya was a merchant. Okay, he was doing his business, and one time he was, sailing on the sea with a shipment. Okay, from, going from his place to another country for the purpose of trade. So in the middle of the sea, his ship hit by a, very dangerous storm. Then the ship was totally destroyed. Then Bahiya, then he, floated ashore. Okay, he found a piece of, wood, in the ocean. uh, came from the same ship that was destroyed. Then floating on that log, that piece of wood, he, floated ashore, where you called Supparaka Patuna in India. Supparaka Patana. So that was a port, kind of little harbor kind of thing. Then Bahia came to the, seashore and tried to find something to wear because he was nude after, facing that terrible storm. He didn't have any cloth in his body, on his body. So he wanted to wear something. Okay, so it is not like these days you can easily find things to wear, right? So it's not a big deal. But those days it was very hard to find things. Okay, he didn't find any, cloth, even a piece of cloth. But he found something like sheet. You might have seen, there are net kind of part in coconut trees. So he was wearing a tree bark, very, simple dress. Because he was wearing that, because he couldn't find anything to wear, then he was called Bahiya Daruchiriya. Daruchiriya is the bark cloth. You know, you get it from trees. So he seemed like a very simple person because of him wearing that simple piece of, cloth. It's not a cloth, but it seemed like a cloth. Then wearing that cloth, he was wandering, you know, around just to find, food and find some people to get some help because he just faced a terrible thing in his life. He destroyed, his, ship got destroyed, and he faced, I mean, he had near death experience because of fighting against this storm, and he was floating, you know in the sea, like for a long time. Then he finally found a place. Then he was wondering to find some food. People saw him coming, from far, from a distance, then they thought that this should not be a normal person. This is an unusual person. Look at what he's wearing. He's a very simple person. He's not like us. He's not one of us. Okay, we have a lot of needs. Okay, we need many things in order to live. But look at that person who is wearing a tree bark cloth. He seems so simple. He should be an arahant. They thought that because of his simple life, they had heard about arahants. Then they thought Bahiya was one of them. Okay, then they went to Bahiya and offered food, clothes and everything, but he only accepted food. He did not accept anything else. Then people, even thought, yeah, this is indeed an arahant. Okay, he really has a very, you know, simple life. Okay, let's, consider him as arahant. Then from now on, we can take care of him. So Bahiya also, regardless of his real status, okay, he knows his mind, right? So you know your spiritual development, okay, where you are, okay, the understanding of your level of your understanding. You can know, even though Bahiya knew that he was not an arahant, he was just there accepting that he was an arahant just because people treating him very nicely. Okay, that was wrong. Okay, he acted as though he was an arahant. So people were also continuing taking care of him. Then one day, Bahir had this thought. He was like, am I an arahant? Have I entered the path to the arahantship, path to the nibbana? So he was wondering about that. He had that question one day, but he did not want to take care of that. Okay, just to see whether it is true. Okay, he just had that thought occurred to his mind, but he did not think about it further. Okay, if he had realized that he was not an arahant, then he would have tried, right, to do something, but he never thought about it afterwards. The thought just occurred and it disappeared, and he was the same, thinking that he was an arahant. Then a deity, according to the sutta, one of his blood relations from a previous existence, okay, came to Bahiya. That's also a long story, but to talk about that deity. But I don't think it's time to talk about that long story because we got delayed starting the Dhamma sermon. So I'm going to skip that part. But anyhow, there was a deity who was a blood relation of the Bahiya Daruchirya in one of his previous lives. Then that deity showed uh, himself in front of Bahiya because he saw Bahiya's thought. Okay, Bahiya was thinking, oh, I was an arahant. I was one of them, and maybe I have entered the path if I am not an arahant. Okay, he was doubtful. Okay, he thought either I have entered the path or I am fully awakened. I'm an arahant. So deity saw this wrong view about himself in Bahiya. Then he showed himself, the deity showed himself in front of Bahiya and said, Bahiya, like being in the sky, he said, you are not an arahant at all. Okay, people didn't say that. People were kind of taking care of him very well, thinking that he was an arahant, but this deity confronted, directly said to Bahiya, "You are not an arahant. Even you have not entered at least the path to Nibbana." So Bahiya was kind of shocked because ever since he got to this, Suparaka pot, he had not heard something like this about himself. Someone saying, "You are not an arahant." Everyone was phrasing around. But this person, he had no idea about who he was, this deity. Then he was convinced, yeah, he's telling the truth. I'm not an arahant. Then Bahi asked a question from the deity. Okay, then are there any arahant in this world? Okay, can you see the same way you saw me that I was not an arahant? Then the deity said, not only are there arahant in this world, but there is a person called Samma Sambuddha. Now he's talking about our Gautama Buddha. Okay, living in Savatthi, in that great city. Not only he has, arahant students, disciples, but also he teaches the path to attain the Nibbana. So Bahya was so happy because he was kind of intelligent, but his, you know, kind of little wisdom was hidden because of, some of his wrong thoughts. But convinced by this deity, he really wanted to be an arahant. Then he went to Savatthi in 3 days. Okay, it was long distance from the seaside, from the coastal area to where the Buddha was living in Savatthi, northern part of India. So this, it says like Tihi Ratti, like in 3 nights he went to Savatthi looking for the Buddha. So it was early morning when he got to Savatthi. Then he went to the monastery Jetavana offered by Anathapindika. Then he asked the monks, "Can you just, take me to the Buddha? I came here looking for him." You know, in his mind, he had this thought, I really want to learn from him how to be an arahant. Okay, he's going to be my teacher. Then Buddha had, just left the temple for his alms round, okay, for Pindapata. Then the monks said Buddha is not at the temple, but he just, went to the village to collect some food. Then Bahia again left the temple for the village looking for the Buddha. Then he saw the Buddha was, going for his alms round. Then he went nearby and asked Buddha, "Buddha, can you deliver me some Dhamma that is beneficial for me, okay, for my happiness, that is beneficial for me for a long time? Dese tume Bhante Bhagava Dhammang yang mamasa digarattang hitaya sukhaya bhavisati." Please, Venerable Sir, give me some Dharma. Deliver me some Dharma that is beneficial for me for a long, long time. Then Buddha said, "Bahi, this is not time for me to, deliver some Dhamma to you. Okay, akalo kotava Bahi. Antaragaram pavitam mahapindaya. Can't you see that I am on my arms round? It is not suitable time to, preach you some Dharma." Then Bahi, he was of course intelligent. Then he added something to his request. Okay, he said, "Tujananko panitam bante bhagavato va jivitantarayang mayihang va jivitantarayang." Venerable Sir, it is not certain that, whether I will die in a bit or whether you will die, after a while. So we are not certain about our lives. Now he's really thinking about the uncertainty and impermanence, right? So everything is impermanent. So why don't you give me some dharma that is beneficial for me for a long time? Then a second time, Buddha again declined his request. Then he was again asking to Jananko Panetam Bhante Bhagavato Ajivitantaraya Mayang Ajivitantaraya. Desitu me Bhante Bhagavadamma Mamasa Dhigaratang Hitaya Sukhaya Bhavasati. Could you please, just give me a little bit of Dhamma? Because we are not certain about our life. You may die in a bit, I may die in a bit. So before that happens, please deliver me some Dhamma. Then Buddha, when he had requested 3 times, then Buddha said, Tasmatiya Bahiya Evang Sikhitabang, then Bahiya, because of your, great, insistence. So I'm going to give you a short Dhamma. Okay, tasmati evang sikhitabang. You should train yourself thus. So this is what we are going to talk about today. Okay, you can forget about the whole story if it is not important, and you have to really focus on what Buddha taught to make Bahir, attain the Nibbana right away. So this is the teaching Buddha gave to Bahiya so that he attained the Nibbana. He was, awakened after Buddha delivered this short verse to Bahiya. Buddha said, Ditte dittamattang bhavisati. Sute sutamattam bhavisati. Mute mutamattam bhavisati. Vinyate vinyatamattam bhavisati. Ditte dittamattam bhavisati. In the scene is mere the scene. Okay, so it talks about our eye. We experience the world, with our eye. Then you see things. When you see things, then what happens? Sometimes because of eye consciousness, you have your eye, then you have, color and form outside. So those two together create eye consciousness. Okay, then after eye consciousness arise, then what happened? Then phassa, contact. Because of contact, then you have tanha, right? Then you have craving. If you really like the thing you see, then you think, oh, I really like it. I want to see it again and again. I want it to be mine. Now you kind of, you have kind of possessiveness, appropriation, right? You have a desire for something. If the thing you see, make you painful, if it gives you a painful feeling, then patiga arises, aversion or hatred. You don't like it, dislike. You want to kind of remove it. You want to, be away from it. Okay, if you like the thing you see, then you really want it. If you don't like, if you dislike the thing you see, then you don't want it. So you have either craving or hatred. Both are unwholesome. So ditte dittamatam bhavisati. Just, in the scene, just the scene. If you can be like that, then there is no craving and no hatred. And the second line of that stanza, Sute sutamattam bhavisati. In the herd is mere the herd. Okay, you hear things. you listen to things, right? Then also the same thing happened that we talked about with regard to our eye. Okay, if the sound you listen to, if the sound you hear is kind of good, that you like it, then it is desirable for you. Okay, you have desire. If you don't like it, if it is painful, then you have hatred. You just want to get away with that. You just want to get rid of that. Okay, so sute sutamatam bhavisati. So that's the advice from Buddha to Bahiya. In the herd, just the herd. In the herd is mere the herd. Okay, you don't have further expectations. Okay, you are not going to desire anything. You just experience that, then that's all. Okay, there is no clinging into things. You're not hanging on things. You're not chasing after things depending on what you experience, with your sensory organs. Then sute sutamatam bhavisati. Mute mutamatam bhavisati, the third line. In the sensed is mere the sensed. Okay, what you sense, what you feel. So that line covers three organs of our body. So when it says in the sense, it is our nose, tongue, and body. So that's where we get smell, taste, and tangibles, the contact. Okay, so it covers three sensory organs. So the first line talks about the eye, ditte dittamatam bhavisati, in the scene, just the scene. The second line, sute sutamatam bhavisati, in the herd, just the herd. And the third line, mute mutamatam bhavisati, in the sense, just the sensed. Three organs, nose, tongue, and body. And the fourth line, vinyate vinyatamatam bhavisati, that's about your mind. Okay, in the cognized, just the cognized. In the cognized is mere the cognized. Okay, so you don't have any craving for thing after any sensual process happened. When you see things, hear things, smell things, taste things while you are eating, when you get contact. So it is about having controlled sensory organs. Okay, this is very important because of our sensory experience, because of our sensory knowledge about the world. So this is where we start to put ourselves in trouble. Okay, we have to talk about the dependent origination a little bit in order to make this clearer. Okay, this four-line stanza, that was the sermon that Buddha gave to Bahiya Daruchirya. See, it doesn't take even 4 seconds. Ditte dittamattam bhavisati, sute sutamattam bhavisati, mute mutamattam bhavisati, vinyate vinyatamattam bhavisati. Very short discourse. And after listening to that, Bahiya was an arahant. See, he was the foremost disciples among those who comprehended, understood things quickly, speed in deep knowledge. Okay, he was the foremost. He was the aggasavaka of that, among that particular people. Okay, there were people who immediately understood Dharma, immediately after Buddha delivered something. So Bahiya Daruchirya was foremost. He was the chief disciple of, people who speed in deep knowledge. So that little Dhamma sermon, okay, which takes less than, couple of seconds. So made Bahiya Daruchirya understand Dharma right away. He was an arahant after listening to that Dhamma sermon. Unfortunately, after he was an arahant, okay, after he became an arahant, he was attacked by a cow. There was a cow in the field, so Bahiya Daruchirya was, walking nearby. Then the cow just attacked and killed Bahiya Daruchirya. Then the Buddha with his disciples, okay, he was wandering around that place. Then they saw Bahiya Daruchirya. Then Buddha told monks, take Bahiya Daruchirya's body, okay, take it and place it in a litter, okay, kind of, simple bed kind of thing where even like in countries like India nowadays, okay, you place the dead bodies in litters and take them to the crematorium. Okay, likewise, put the body in a litter and take it away to the woods and burn it. So now the Buddha asking monks to do that. Have you ever seen monks carrying dead bodies of lay people? No, right? So Bahiya was not an ordained person. Yet Buddha asked monks to do so. Okay, take Bahiya's body, put it in a litter and take it away and burn. On top of that, Buddha asked monks to make a shrine for Bahiya. Okay, when you burn the body, then you have the remaining body parts, the bones, which you call, if it is an arahant, you call them relics. Like you have the tooth relics of the Buddha in Sri Lanka, in Kandy. So take the relics. Now it is relics because Bahiya was an arahant. So take the relics of Bahiya and make a shrine to it. Okay, enshrine the relics and make a shrine in order to respect him. Then monks were so confused. He was an layperson, but yet Buddha asking us to do so out of respect. Let us do this, and then ask the question from the Buddha afterwards. Okay, then the monks finished the duty that they were assigned to do. After finishing the work, after they made a shrine to Bahiya. Then they came to the Buddha and asked, okay, Buddha, we did all the things out of respect. Okay, yet we were so confused why you asked us to do so. Bahiya was a lay person. But we monks did all the funeral service for him. And on top of that, we made a shrine for him, like we do, to an arahant or like someone like Buddha. Then Buddha said, okay, then monks are so ko abhisamparayanu kassa tagati. So what is his destiny? Was he kind of reborn somewhere? That question was asked by the monks because they were so confused. Then Buddha said, Pandito bhikkhave Bahiya Daruchiryo. Bahiya Daruchirya was a pandit, okay, very wise person, very intelligent person. Pachapadi Dhammasanu Dhamma. He practiced according to the Dhamma. Okay, he listened to very short teaching of the Buddha, but he practiced. I mean, he tried to understand what it really meant. Nachaman Dhammadhikarane vihesese. He did not put me in trouble disputing about the Dharma, right? When some people go to the Buddha, they keep asking questions again and again and again because it is really hard for them to understand. So that is called like putting the Buddha in trouble, right? Keep asking question again and again. So you are making Buddha tired. But with relation to Bahiya Daruchirya, Buddha said, he did not make me in trouble, disputing about them, arguing about them. Okay, he realized that right away. Parinibbuto bhikkave bahiya daruchiyo. If you are kind of, wondering, curious about, what happened to Bahiya Daruchiri, Parinibbuto, he attained the final Nibbana. He was not a, just a normal person. He was an Arahant. That's why I asked you to do so and consider him as a companion that, who practice the Dhamma in the monastery with you. So that's why I wanted you to consider him as, a companion of you, as a friend of you. So it is just as a monk, because he was an Arahant. Okay, then after all the incident, then Buddha uttered a udana. This is the udana. Okay, this is the joyful utterance by the Buddha. Okay, yat apo cha patavi tejo vayo nagadati na tatta sukha jotanti adicho nappakasati na tatta chandima bhati tamo tatta na vijjati yadacha attana vedi munimonen brahmano atarupa arupa cha sukha dukkha pamucchati. So that is the udana. That is 2 verses, like 8 lines. Okay, let's see what was Buddha happy about. Okay, what the Buddha was happy about. So it's because of happiness, right? They utter that kind of udanas. It is out of wisdom, and both wisdom and happiness, that a arahant or the Buddha utter those kind of utterances. Let's see what was the intention behind delivering this udana, uttering this udana. Yat apo cha patavi tejo vayo nagadati. Where apo, the 4 elements, patavi, apo, tejo, vayo. Okay, so when those 4 elements, solidity, liquidity, heat, and air. Okay, so our bodies have those 4 elements. Okay, we are made out of those 4 elements. Okay, you can separate our body when you listen to Satipatthana Sutta. So there are 32 repulsive factors of the body. Punapa kottasa. Okay, there are 32. So those 32 repulsive factors of the bodily parts, you can separate them into those 4 elements. Okay, that's what we have in our body: Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. So where those 4 elements, do not hold, where they do not exit, where they do not gain a foothold. Okay, if you cannot see them, okay, that's the nature of nibbana. When you attain the nibbana, there is no patavi there. Apo, liquidity; tejo, heat; vayu, air. That nibbana is free from those things, what we are made of and what we are experiencing with our 5 sensory organs. Okay, so we have that sanya. Okay, we have that sign. When we see something, we get it either as patavi or apo, tejo, vayu. Okay, when we have that sensory experience, then you have passa, contact. Then it's going on until papanchas. Okay, you end up saying, that is, I that is mine and that is my soul. Okay, because of our five sensory organs, because of our experience through our eye, nose, ear, tongue, and body, the conclusion is that is I, that is mine, that is my soul. Okay, tanha, man, ditti. So those are called papanchas. Okay, those are mental proliferations. Hmm? That is a bad conclusion about the world depending on our sensory knowledge. Okay, so when you attain nibbana, so there is no patavi, no apu, no tejo, no vayu. Na tatta sukha jotanti. Okay, there is no star gleaming there. Adityo nappakasati. So there is no sun there shedding light. Then adityo nappakasati. Yadacha attana vedi munimonena brahmano. So when you realize yourself, this truth, okay, now we have to refer to the short stanza that Buddha delivered to Bahiya Daruchiri. Ditte dittamattam bhavisati, sute suttamattam bhavisati, mute mutamattam bhavisati, vinyate vinyatamattam bhavisati. When you realize that truth, okay, by yourself, with your own wisdom, in the seen, just the seen. In the heard, just the heard. In the sense, just the sensed. In the cognized, just the cognized. So when you understand that, okay, when you do not have craving or hatred, okay, when you are not involved in your sensory process, okay, when you do not take things personally from that sensory process. Okay, sensory process is going on, right? You have eye, you have color and form. Then because of those things meeting together, you have eye consciousness. But the thing is, when that sensory process happens, you involve there, you take things personally. So what you have to do is to be there impersonally. Okay, you don't have to interfere anything. You get into the stream, other than just stepping back a little bit and look at the process from distance. You have to look at the process from far without being part of the process. Okay, but we don't do that. So we have bad thoughts all the time, like bad defilements, craving, jealousy, restlessness, lust and desire. So many bad thoughts occur because we are kind of entangled in the process. What arahants status is, they just step back a little and look at the process going. They don't get involved in that, they are not becoming part of that. Okay, so that's the meaning of that stanza. You have so many experience, so much experience through your sensory doors. You don't have to get involved. Okay, you just have to you know let that process happen and not to take things personally, like, oh, I like that, I want that, I hate that, I don't like that, this is my idea about this is my opinion. So you have narratives, you have stories, and at the end of the day, you conclude, end up saying that is I, this is mine, and this is my soul. That is proliferating mentally, okay, in a wrong way that has nothing to do with the reality. So Bahi understood that you really have to have your sensory organs controlled. When you understand that yadacha attana vedi munimone brahmano atta Rupa arupa cha sukha dukkha pamuchati. When you understand this truth, Ata Rupa, you are freed from the Rupa Loka, the form, the world of form, material world. So then you are free from Arupa, immaterial world. And then you are free from Sukha Dukkha, that's the sensual world, okay? The realm of sensual pleasure, where we live, okay? Manusya Loka, in this karma world, okay? So then you are free from all these three worlds. It means that you won't have another birth, because you understand the truth of the world. You see the reality by yourself, mm, without taking things personally. Okay, if you take things personally with desire and craving, lust, then you become a part of the process. Then you are just part of the stream that flow towards the ocean. You cannot escape from that. In order to escape, then you have to step back a little bit and just let the process happen without getting involved in there. Okay, that's the short dharma that the Buddha delivered to Bahiya, just to control your eye, nose, ear, tongue, body, and mind. Okay, not to be a slave of your sensory experience. We are being slaves. Okay, we act according to what our mind wishes. Okay, we are not trying to control mind. Okay, we are always being a slave of mind. So Bahi understood that. Okay, just 4 lines. Okay, just a teaching that takes only couple of seconds. Just by listening to that, Bahiya was an arahant. So that is the lesson to Bahiya from the Buddha. Just have your sensory organs controlled. Otherwise, you will have a very long existence in this sansara. You cannot end suffering. If exist in the sansara, it means that you have to face suffering again and again. When you are born, then you have jara, marana, soka, paridava, then you have diseases, okay, aging, sorrow, pain, everything you have just because you are born. So we have to stop that. In order to stop that, you really have to have a controlled sensory organs. Otherwise, you can't do that. So Bahir understood that really quick, and concentrating on that Dhamma, then he immediately became an arahant. That's why Buddha asked monks to treat him as a monk. Okay, take his body, take it away, burn it, and make a shrine. So Bahiya was an arahant, even though he was a layperson, even though he was not a monk. Okay, so everyone can attain nibbana regardless of their position in the society, whether you are an ordained person, whether you are a lay person. So anyone can attain nibbana, but you really have to see Dhamma. You really have to understand Dhamma by yourself. Okay, that's what we all are trying to do by listening to these Dhamma talks. So you can be happy that you can still listen to Dhamma, but there will be a day that you don't find any monks preaching. You don't find any Dhamma books. Okay, we are so fortunate to be born during this kind of period where the Dhamma exists in this world. Okay, so you have to get the best use of that. Okay, so I think that's the end of my Dhamma talk today. I think I can answer if there is any questions raised by our audience.
Yes, thank you, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Bhante, we have some questions here for you. We have three questions in total. The first one, yeah, is from Brother David. He asked, Bhante, please explain to us the real objective of becoming a Buddhist and how to be a true and a good Buddhist.
Okay. So normally, so according to the tradition, a Buddhist is, one who, goes to Buddha for refuge and goes to Dhamma for refuge and goes to Sangha for refuge. Okay, that's what you say when you observe five precepts. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. But there is a big meaning behind that. So when you say, I go to Buddha, as my refuge, what does it mean? It means that you are going to cultivate the qualities that the Buddha had in him. Okay, he had a lot of, knowledges, a lot of, good conduct. Okay, but, we are focusing on his enlightenment. So we want to be awakened as well. Okay, and he's our teacher. So go to Buddha for refuge mean I want to be someone like him. So if you want to be someone like him, so you have to get rid of all the bad actions that you do, all the bad thoughts that kind of you have in your mind, if you want to be someone like Buddha. So to be a real Buddhist is to be someone like Buddha. And Dhamma, I go to Dhamma, as my refuge. So if you go to Dhamma as your refuge, it means that you really want to practice what is, taught in the Dhamma by the Buddha. Okay, so you want to put the Dhamma into practice. But unfortunately, sometimes just people just utter those things. I go to Buddha for my refuge, I go to Dhamma as my refuge, but they do not mean it. It is just reciting something. But if you want to be a real Buddhist, you want to be someone like Buddha, then you really want to practice the Dhamma. Sangha, then the third thing, I'm going to Sangha as my refuge, means that you make Sangha your truly friends, kalyana mitra. Okay, you always go to Sangha for the purpose of learning from them, sharing with them the Dhamma knowledge you have. It is not all the time that you are getting things from Sangha like knowledge. You can also share your Dhamma knowledge with Sangha. Okay, that is a true friendship. Because of that kalyana mitrata, because of that friendship, so it accelerates your path to nibbana. Okay, so the speed of your approach to nibbana. Then I think in order to be a real Buddhist, you really have to go to Buddha as your refuge, and Dhamma and Sangha. So that's what we call upasaka and upasika, lay devotees, and uh, men and women. So both upasakas are those who gone to the triple gems, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, for refuge.
Bhante, thank you for your answer. Okay, the next question, yeah, Bhante, from Brother Tim Apiao. He said, Bhante, you said that Bahiya walked 3 days from Suparaka to Jeta's Grove? How can that be when the distance between Suparaka and Jeta's Grove was 580 kilometers?
Yeah, so I meant he went to the Savat in 3 days. Maybe he found some carts, right? So maybe horse cart, you know, bull carts or something. So that's a long distance. But the sutra says like tihi rattihi. So in 3 days he made it. So this is not a Dhamma question. So this is just disputing about the fact of the sutra. So this is what sometimes happens. People do not want to focus on real Dhamma facts. They are like hanging on to stories. Okay, when I say there was a deity, then people questions how we have never seen deities. Can it be true? Okay, so there are stories made, but at the end you have a great dharma. Suppose how you can make your kid have their medicine. Sometimes medicine is bitter. Okay, then you take your medicine and you add some sweet. If you do not add that sweet, then you can't make him take the medicine. So sometimes there are stories with mythological facts, okay, to inspire you. So Bahiya, that the distance was that far, but he really wanted to be an arahant, then he didn't care about the distance. Suppose what we were to go there, so okay, how many places we stop at? Okay, maybe we book some hotel and find some time for entertainment. Okay, we are not going there just to learn something from the Buddha. We just go for fun. Bahiya didn't want to do anything for fun. Okay, he really wanted to see the Buddha. So you can question these things, but it does not do any good for you, right? So you better ask some question about the things like ditte dittamattam bhavisati, sute sutamattam bhavisati. Okay, what does it really mean? Okay, so make your question kind of important in order for you to attain nibbana. So just ignore those doubtful things. Okay, we yeah.
Okay, Bhante, one more question from Brother Tim. He said, Bhante, Bahiya was a posthumous monk. It was because he was about to be ordained after achieving enlightenment, but he had no alms bowl and robe and was on his way to find these items when he was killed by an animal. Was this also the reason why his body was asked to be treated as a monk?
So yeah, so that is true, but in the sutta there is no mention about this thing. But I think uh, Attakatha and other post-canonical things say like that. Okay, Bahiya really wanted to be a monk. Then Buddha asked Bahiya to find robes, because Buddha can ordain people by just saying like ehi bhikkhu. Okay, monk, come here. Okay, if you are a lay person, if you go see the Buddha, if you have enough merits to be you know to get ordained with that ehi bhikkhu ordination, which can be only done by the Buddha, so you automatically have robes, bowls and everything. But Buddha didn't do that ehi bhikkhu ordination for Bahiya. It says, the story says that he didn't have enough merits to be ordained as an ehi bhikkhu. Then he had to find a robe, bowl, etc., etc., by himself. Okay, so that may be a reason as well. Okay, he was about to be a monk. That's why Buddha asked him to be, treated like that. But on top of that, he was an arahant. So yeah, what you say is correct. and also he was an arahant, so he deserved that kind of, you know, treatment.
Bante, one more question, yeah. From the same brother. Bante, what the Buddha taught Bahiya and Malukya was the Dhamma in brief. He didn't say it was the quickest way to enlightenment, I suppose. Bahiya achieved arahanthood immediately because of his past life karma that has enabled him to understand Buddha's stanza immediately. Was it like that?
Okay. So the thing is, the quickest way to understand Nibbana is not my translation. I think someone did that for me. Okay. I never said something like that. So the explanation of the sutta I gave what Dhamma Buddha delivered to Bahiya Daruchirya that made him, you know, realize Nibbana right away. Okay. So that quickest thing, so I never gave that. So maybe you can talk to the person who wrote it that way.
Thank you for your feedback, Bante. We'll be more careful in future. Bante, one more question, yeah. In the Buddha's teaching, the second stanza actually means to practice mindfulness and practice watching the mind and body, especially during our waking hours and not just in formal meditation. This is the practice with open awareness or open eyes and not focused awareness with closed eyes. Is that correct, Bante?
Yeah, that is very true. So your whole life should be lived with mindfulness, right? But you cannot say that, right? You know, there are some people claiming that I am always mindful, so I don't want to, you know, close my eye and go to a, you know, root of a tree, okay, and go to the forest and meditate. I don't need that because I am mindful all the time. But if you try to close your eyes, sit somewhere, you know, cross legged, so it helps you to gain the one pointedness in your mind, okay, tranquility in your mind. So that tranquility, that one pointedness always help you to be mindful throughout your life, okay. So the closed eyes, you know, cross-legged, that is very important in order to gain the one pointedness. Then that is really, you know, become easier for you to uh, practice anything in your life throughout your life, right? So you have to make your mind, you know, that capable in order to be mindful all the time. So the meditation, closed eyes help, but as you say, that's correct. It is even when you know, have open eyes, so you have to be mindful. Yeah.
He said, good answer, Bante. We need to focus on the actual teaching and ignore the other fluff to make the teaching interesting and inspiring. Thank you, Brother Kelvin, for your positive comment. I think one more question, Bante, one final one. This brother or sister, he asked, how to attain Nibbana in this life?
Yeah. So that is something. So monks and lay people, all of us, you know, try to attain in this very life, because there is a misbelief, you know, in people that we cannot attain nibbana in this very life. So it is something, you know, that happen in future, maybe in our next life, when the Maitri Buddha, okay, when the Metteya Buddha, you know, will be in the world. So that is a misbelief. Okay, we can attain nibbana in this very life itself. So nibbana means, you know, you live your whole life happily. okay, with a balanced mind. As I said, because of our sensory experience, okay, you are not going up and down. Up means you have overjoy, down mean you are sad, you have regret, frustration, okay, bad thoughts because of those, problems you have, because of dislike, depending on your sensory experience, okay, then it give rise to bad thoughts. And if you really like the things, you are kind of, cling into your sensory experience, then craving for things more and more, you have desire, lust. So to be in between, it is neither tanha nor patiga, okay, to practice in the middle path, as I say, okay, just to look at the, process of the Paticcasamuppada. Okay, Mahanidana Sutta. You can listen to Mahanidana Sutta. I also gave a talk on Mahanidana Sutta previously. So just to understand the process of Paticcasamuppada. That's the main thing. Understand to Paticcasamuppada. That's the way to realize Nibbana. Okay, everything is dependent on something. When the causes are removed, then the result can also be removed. Okay, so if you try to understand the paticca samuppada, the links of the dependent origination, okay, just to see the process, not to be involved. What we are doing is we are involving, taking thing as, oh, that's me, that's mine, I like it, I want it. Okay, so we have those kind of ideas, opinions, okay, attachments. We are kind of, bounded. If you get rid of that kind of involvement for that natural process, then you can attain nibbana. Why we cannot attain nibbana? We are ourselves in that process. We are kind of, stuck there. Okay, so we have to be in the middle path, which means just to let the process be there. This is really because of this sensory experience that we are in trouble, that we cannot understand Nibbana. We take things personally. Okay, just let the process be there. We see things, we hear things, we eat, we smell, we have, contact. So those are just the experience. Nothing, we expect furthermore. Okay, we are not, chasing after anything, or we do not hate or dislike anything. Our balanced mind is there. We are not picky, or we are not, trying to, get rid of thing with hate. I mean hatred. Okay, it's just, maintain a balanced mind. Then you are a happy person. If you are happy all the time, so that is the nibbana.
One more question. Bhante, you're so popular tonight, yeah? Dear Bhante, how to really control our emotions?
Yeah, when you say control, that is a problem. Okay, so the feelings are there. Emotions is feelings. I mean, the first step of your emotions is feeling. Okay, you feel things. If you become a slave of those feelings, then you become emotional. Okay, so you are not trying to control anything. Okay, you just let it be there. Whatever the experience you have, you just let it be there. Okay, what we do is, if we have very, pleasant things, okay, we try to grab those things. If we have unpleasant things, we try to be sad. Oh, I always have this kind of, bad experience. Okay, that's the nature of the world. So Buddha had this quality, tadi guna. He was unshaken all the time. Okay, We experience, dukkha, sukha both, happiness and pain both. And we have, sometimes labha, alabha. Okay, we get profits. Sometimes we don't have any profits, from our business, right? Yasa ayasa, we get, fame. People praise us. Sometimes people blame us, accuse us. Okay, so those are the things that make us emotional, but that's the nature of the world. You cannot stop that. You have to encounter all those things, but while encountering those things, you don't judge anything, you don't try to control anything, you just let them be there. We cannot let them be there, we really involved, then that becomes a bigger problem for us. Okay, don't try to control anything, just accept the nature of the world. We are suffering, Buddha said, because we cannot accept the changing patterns of the world. We always want the world to be our way. Okay, I want you to be this, I want that to be this. Okay, that want, okay, make, us in trouble. Okay, so you just let things be there, don't take anything personally, then it won't make you emotional.
Thank you, Bante, for all your answer and your lessons here. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Bante, can I invite you to do a transference of merit for us? So,
Sure.
for brothers and sisters with a joyful heart and mind, let's perform the Anmodana now. Bante, please.
Sure. Okay, so by the power of the meritorious deeds that we just did, so all the deities who protect our lives and all the departed relatives, who passed away, and also us, all of us. So the deities and departed relatives, and also, all of us, may us all attain, may we all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana by the power, meritorious power that we just acquired. आकाशट्टः च बुम्मट्टः देवानागा महिद्दिका पुण्यन्तं अनुमोदित्वा चिरं रक्षन्तु लोकशासनम् आकाशट्टः च बुम्मट्टः देवानागा महिद्दिका पुण्यन्तं अनुमोदित्वा चिरं रक्षन्तु देशनम् आकाशट्टः च बुम्मट्टः देवानागा महिद्दिका पुण्यन्तं अनुमोदित्वा चिरं रक्षन्तु मं परम् इदं मे ज्ञातीनां होतु सुखिता हन्तु ज्ञातयो इदं मे ज्ञातीनां होतु सुखिता हन्तु ज्ञातयो इदं मे ज्ञातीनां होतु सुखिता हन्तु ज्ञातयो इदं मे पुण्यं आसवक्कया वहं होतु सब्बदुःखापमुच्यतु होतु निब्बानपच्चया इमिना पुण्यकम्मेन मामे बालसमागमो सतं समागमो होतु यावनिब्बानपत्तिया. Sadhu, sadhu. May you all be deeply well and happy.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bante. Please join us again on Sunday, same time at 8:30 at this platform again. Once again, thank you, Bante, Samitha. Uh, Thank you so much for your time and your lesson, and thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you very much for having me. Have a good night.
Yes, good night.